Hello, YouTube. This is an alcohol review of Ammunition Straight to Bourbon Whiskey. According to the label, finished in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels, Sonoma County, California. 45% alcohol by volume, 90 proof, 750ml bottle. Little bits and bobs. That's about the end of that. Nothing of any real relevance. Nothing even on the back. Got a bit of a pour. Give it a swirl. The purpose of the swirl is that it pulls it up inside the glass so we can see how much tearing it does, how fast the tearing it does. That gives us a hint of how much alcohol or how much sugar is still left in solution. With a lot of sugar left in solution gives you a heavy mouthfeel. Little gives you a light mouthfeel, like water. Whether it's going to be sweet, whether it's not, and so forth. It also helps with the nose and the glass because you pull it up on the side as it pulls down. More surface contact with the air. All that neat stuff. It's for just a little bitty motion. It gives you a lot of information. It tears up well, but you got to give it a little bit of time. So, it has a smell of lemon and oranges mixed in with a bourbon. That shouldn't be too bad of a thing. That's why a lot of decent ones smell like. So yeah, lemon, oranges. Underlying that is your regular spices and your vanilla and other things. And then a bit of an ethanol rolling around on the very bottom. And then it fades out pretty quick. So a nice nose, but not a very strong nose. It wants to burn you. It wants to give you a little bit of a bite. But very light, very fleeting on that. The ethanol is a lot stronger on the palate than it is on the nose. But that lemon and orange, although dominant in the nose, isn't so much when it comes to the palate. On the palate, it is much more subdued and rides along very well with the vanilla and the spices you get from a standard bourbon. The fact that you get this Cabernet Sauvignon barrels, I'm not sure what exactly was to pull out of that, but I don't think I'm getting it. The more it sits out, and make sure you let this sit out for longer than you normally would, the faster it loses its claws. When I first had this, as you tell me, kind of nipping on it. When I first had this, straight out of the bottle, I thought I wanted to rip my face off. But now that some air has gotten to it, and this pour had been sitting out for, well, let's say various noise-causing reasons. Make sure those go by. It has given this a chance to breathe a little bit longer than normal. Patience, patience, patience. And because of that, it had lost a lot of the sharpness on its claws. So when you try this, and you try this straight, definitely give it some breathing time. You'll be thankful for that. The mouthfeel is light. The hang time is average, if not a little on the short side, making it a wonderful kind of a bourbon to have in the summertime. Now, when this was videotaped, the middle of winter, I'd have to say it's too light on the palate for this time of year. But a nice summer night go very well with this. Now, the temptation is to have it on ice, and that would definitely remove a lot more of the edge that you get with this particular product. But unless it really, really needs it, I would have to say no. The layers are so light and so delicate that I believe the ice would do nothing more than just muddy it all together. Definitely. It's so soft and all those little nuances. Ice would just lump it from the be all. You would lose a lot of, as for the ice taking away those edges, the ice does like to take off. You can do the same thing if you just let it sit out for another 5, dare I say 10 minutes. And I mean sit out. Sit out. One person I had heard that there's, not necessarily this particular product, but their bourbon sit out for a good 20-some minutes. This, as much as I find it almost fanciful, this I can see could need a 20-minute sit down to reflect on its thoughts and what it means to be a bourbon and what it's doing in your glass and so forth and so on. That typically means, for my palate, may not be for yours, but for mine, that this will be okay in a cocktail, but you'll be losing a lot of its value if you have it in a cocktail. Sugary drinks, fruit drinks, fruit juices, syrups, and whatnots that all make cocktails, wonderful cocktails, would just roll over this poor creature like it's nothing. Think of this as crystal, and think of a cocktail being a large burly dog running into the room, soaking wet, waiting to be petted. Or I should say, not waiting to be petted, rolling on your lap, demanding to be petted. It would crush everything that makes this particular bourbon in its own right, its own nature. So I don't believe this would go well, or would be appreciated in a cocktail. By itself, yes. On ice, you're tempting damnation if you put it on ice. On rocks, maybe. And honestly, but that is ice. Actually, nowadays it's granite that they've smoothed down, turned to little squares. They stick in your freezer. Not nearly as effective as ice, but you don't get that water effect. That is what's slaughtering your bourbon. Maybe that because the rocks also don't give off as much cold as, say, ice would. So you're less chance of ruining it, but, well, let's go and say that's a touch and go one. Ice, no. Cocktails, no. Rocks, maybe. Air out, definitely. Neat, positively. But that's just my opinion. That it's just a bit bitey, and that's the part you just have to look out for. And like I said, if you give it a timeout, if you give it a timeout out the chute, you would be more grateful for it. But like, my opinion, any comments about this particular product, warmly accepted as always. Down below, be fantastic. Or better yet, go out, buy it, try it, do a review of yourself on the YouTube Spirits community, and let the rest of us there know your particular thoughts on ammunition. Finished in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. Be good to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, keep on drinking.